let's talk about a post that I put on Facebook this week that has gotten quite a bit of attention and quite a bit of comments. And we're not talking short little comments, we're talking novelesque comments. My name is Lisa Coleman. I'm a real estate agent here in the Triangle area of North Carolina, and I come to you many times a week just sharing tips about real estate investing, hoping to help you out whether you're a buyer, seller, or investor. So a couple of days ago, I put a post on Facebook, you can go and find it, about rent control, because Massachusetts is considering instigating rent control to landlords, which in essence, they already have it in California. They may have it in some other states. I've not done that research yet. But what it says is it allows a landlord to only raise the rent by a certain percentage each year, or maybe sometimes in some cases, every 2 or 3 years on a property that the person owns and they rent out as part of their investment and their income. And so, there's a lot of pros and cons with this, but a couple of questions we had in there where people were like, that were for the rent control. They said, people are getting priced out of the market. But, and I agree with that. There are some very, very high rentals, not only here in the Raleigh area, but many areas around the country. But let's look at it from the side of the investor, why this is not a good thing, because it will actually harm the amount of rentals that are out there for people, which will then create higher rentals, because as we all know, less demand means higher, less supply means higher pricing with anything. So I'm going to look at my notes. I did a quick little calculation. So let's say that someone purchases a house for $350,000. We're talking about a little bit higher in rental. We're talking about a single family home. I am not talking about institutional investors that have lots of apartment complexes. I'm only talking about people like you, me, when we have just rentals there. We're mom and pop. Okay, I'm not a big investor. I am considered a mom and pop shop. So your purchase price is $350,000, and you have to put down 20%. So you have to put down $70,000. Let's say your closing costs are $5,000. So you have come out of pocket. Your investment, cash out of your pocket to that property when you close on it, is $75,000. Okay, and let's say the rent is 10% of the purchase price. So it's $35,000 a year. That's $2,916 a month. So your payment on this property, including taxes and insurance, is going to be roughly $2,400 a month. So the lender likes to see that the payment equals the rent or higher. That's the numbers they like. It's called a 1-to-1. This is your rent, this is the payment, and they are equal or higher. In this case, the 1-to-1 is actually a 1.215. So this house would finance beautifully on what we call a DSCR loan, which we can talk about that in another video. I'm not going to get into loan specifics here. So you're clearing at $2,916 with a $2,400 payment, $516 a month. That is $6,192 a year. Now, that might, you might say, hey, look, and that is actually a 6.8% return on your investment. Not too bad for something that I like to call sit it and forget it. If this is a new home that you bought or fairly new or something like that. But let's say that 2 months after you buy this house and the tenant moves in, the HVAC goes out and it needs to be fully replaced. This might not be a new home, or it's out of warranty and you have to fix. Might only be 3 or 4 years old and it's out of warranty. That $6,192 that you're making a year on that is going to get eaten up very quickly. It's probably going to, a house this size, you're looking at $10,000, $12,000, maybe even $15,000. So let's say now that your taxes and insurance go up, because as we all know, we cannot control our taxes and we cannot control our insurance. That is set by the government, the rates and everything, and it varies from county and provider. But if they go up, let's just say they go up by, I don't know, $200 a month. We've got reassessed and all that. So now your cash flow has been cut from $516 to $316 a month. So that is a gross profit of $3,792 a year. Guess what? Water heater goes out. That's going to be eaten up depending on, what happens. Did it get damaged, anything? And some of these things are not covered under insurance, as we all know. HVAC isn't, water heater isn't, appliances and all that. So when people say that landlords need to be capped on how much they can come up a year, fine then. Let's not raise taxes, and let's not raise insurance, and let's keep interest rates low. And if we can keep everything steady, it may work out. But that's a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. And that's why, this rent control thing that they're trying to push, in various states, and they've not discussed it here in North Carolina yet. We do not have rent control. It's probably not a good thing, because let me tell you, if they said I could not raise my rent more than a certain percentage, but yet they raised my taxes and insurance, and my cash flow was cut down that I couldn't even cover basic, expenditures for repairs to keep the property nice for my tenants, which I'm very big on doing. Any of my tenants will tell you that. I'm just going to try and sell the property. And more than likely, if it's not going to cash flow for me, and if I've had it for a few years, I'm going to sell it for more than what I paid for it. It's not going to really cash flow make sense on paper to another investor. So with that, you now have a product that is out of the market for rent. It's going to be sold to an owner occupant. And then, we've got one less product for someone that cannot buy a house or chooses not to buy a house that they have to, they don't have to move into. So that's kind of a little synopsis of the rent control. Kind of like I'm not for it. So as you can see that, but I'd love to hear your opinions below, even do a quick video and post it below. I'd love to hear. But that kind of sums up a few of the questions that I had on that post. So have a great day. Look forward to seeing you soon.